Business Live today.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Business Live. Coming up tonight, economist says appreciation of the cedi may not necessarily translate into reduced petroleum prices in the short term. Chief Executive of Dalex Finance, Ken Thompson, advocates a depreciation of the local currency as part of measures to help address the Galamsey menace. Plus, government clears the air on the ban on small-scale mining, insisting licensed artisanal miners would not be affected so long as they abide by the laws. Thanks for making a date this Friday evening. I'll be back with the details.
Business Live today.
My name is Daryl Kwao. In our first story tonight, economist Courage Mate says the appreciation of the cedi may not necessarily translate into reduced petroleum prices in the short term. He's of the view, holding all other variables constant, the improved performance of the cedi will not witness a sudden change in the cost of importing petroleum products into the country by bulk distribution companies. He was sharing his thoughts earlier on the marketplace.
Well, the current price that we have at the pumps is valid until 15th of this month. That's like next week, Saturday. Between now and then, a lot could happen. The exchange rate is only one of the variables that will be considered. But the other thing will be the price of the product on the world market because we bring it from elsewhere. As we speak, the price appears to be heading upwards. And so that increase, if it becomes substantial, could offset and neutralize the positive effect of or the downward pressure that the appreciating cedi could bring about. So it may not immediately or necessarily result in a decline in the prices of the petroleum product at the pumps. So we need to look at what's happening on the external market. And so give or take, as of today, I think the factors are more or less neutralizing each other. And we'll see how it evolves between now and the next pricing window.
Meanwhile, government has vowed to do everything within its power to support the Bank of Ghana's efforts in sustaining the cedi's appreciation. The local currency is currently trading at 4 cedis, 19 pesos. This is the cedi's first sustained appreciation for this year and the best since December 2016. However, there have always been concerns the fact that there has not been a significant coordination between the fiscal and monetary side. But Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng tells Joy Business this would change. He has been outlining how government intends to stabilize the cedi.
What we're seeing reflects the confidence that the public is beginning to have in the economic strategies that were announced in the 2017 budget statement. The idea that most of the commitments we made in the budget have actually been operationalized through the necessary legislation suggests clearly that government is sincere about the strategies. And what that does is that it makes people feel that going forward, we can be confident that the objectives of the strategies will be achieved. That is private sector growth, government rationalizing its own expenditures, because that is what ultimately fuels the macroeconomic instabilities. They are all signals to the private sector and the public that going forward, the macroeconomic environment would be stable, and therefore those even speculators who would have loved to save their value in foreign currency are now beginning to reconsider their decision. It appears to me that that is what is accounting for the appreciation of the cedi. And you might have heard about people now saying that they have had, for instance, to pay their taxes and be refunded and get refunds for the taxes they have paid. All those things are part of strategies we're using to boost revenue. And therefore, they are all things that from our end, we consider that if we pursued, would signal to observers and players of our economy that going forward, the city would stand up for itself, and therefore there's really no need moving away from the city.
Away from the city, and while government may not be able to reach an agreement with the visiting IMF team on extending Ghana's program with the fund, that's according to the Deputy Minister of Finance, Kweku Kwarteng. But could this delay in reaching an agreement with the IMF affect the economy? George Yafe puts all of that into perspective.
The IMF team, which has been in town since Monday, are hoping to carry out its Article 4 consultations, but some might call an assessment of the health of the Ghanaian economy and reach an agreement with the government on extending the country's program with the fund to December 2018. But Mr. Kwarteng says there are still some things that government needs to clear before taking a decision on this.
The whole point of the IMF program is to ensure the kind of discipline that would move the country away from the path of unsustainable death and that we saw in the past. So the critical point is the commitment with which the government seeks to rein in its own expenditures and to improve its revenue. So long as that commitment is total, as I see in this government, the point about having an external partner stand over your head as though if they didn't, you would do the wrong thing, then would have been settled. I am clear in my mind that there are things we are doing in this program that the IMF did not even require. For instance, the capping of statutory funds was not part of the program. We found the need to do it. And we did it because we believe in that. And so in the end, we think we have the self-discipline to do things right. Ghana is a proud country of intelligent and good people. We are capable of turning our own economy around. We do not necessarily need an external agent to be here to instill discipline. As a Ghanaian, I'm not attracted to that proposition, but the IMF, it's a development partner. Ghana is a member of the IMF, and so we're happy to engage with them as we seek to improve our economy. But we're clear in our minds that this economy would only grow if we are committed to making it grow.
For some, the current stability and investor confidence that the country is currently enjoying can be attributed to the fund program. Therefore, any signals that government wants to quickly get out and carry out some excessive spending could see the market punish the country by exiting from our bonds, as well as the rating agencies punishing Ghana by reviewing our ratings into a junk status. Joy Business understands government is currently divided on extension of the IMF program.
Agric now, and the agribusiness subsector of the Association of Ghana Industries is engaging government on some policy measures to be considered in its planting for food and jobs agenda. The association paid a courtesy call on the Agric Minister this afternoon to present a clear roadmap on how Ghanaian farmers can maximize their gains with the policy intervention. Chairman of the cassava value chain sector, Ejay Menu, interacted with Ebenezer Sabute.
Need to avail their minds. We need to let them know and deepen the advocacy to let them know that, hey, we can do this to save the currency. We can do this one to promote import substitution. We can use this one to export the local processed product. In the United States alone, just 2014, we exported about $5 million worth of Gary alone, just Gary alone. So trust me, if we concentrate even on Gary, Ghana can make a lot of money out of it. The economy of Ghana requires about 200,000 metric tons of starch alone. In fact, the cumulative of this runs to about $2 billion. And we are saying that we can use cassava, which is the best alternative substitute crop for some of these imports. And we're saying that In 2011 alone, Ghana, we produced about 14,240,000 metric tons of cassava. And 2015, we had around 17,523,000 metric tons. My brother asked me, how many or how much of this output is processed? We still have very high post-harvest losses. We still have very poor market systems. We need to integrate some of these innovations to make the cassava value chain a major stay after cocoa, because we believe that most of our smallholder farmers, the outgrower farmers, and then that of the women are also actively engaged in the value chain. So this is our call to the government, and this is the role that we want to play in this planting for food and jobs, and also one district, one factory, because you go to every district, I don't know where you are from, but you go to every district, you have one or two factories that are dedicated for cassava alone, because we are saying that it is a crop that is resilient. It can be grown in all parts of this country. And Ghana is the 6th leading producing country in terms of cassava in the world.
We'll still stay in this space because the Ministry of Food and Agriculture says it has rolled out a GPS and biometric data collection system to register all farmers who will benefit from the fertilizer subsidy program. The biometric system will also ensure farmers do not over-declare their farm acreages, and also address the issue of smuggling by middlemen and extension officers to neighboring Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast. At the announcement of this year's subsidized prices in Accra, the Greek Minister, Dr. Fiye Osakoto, said the menace will be checked by the participation of the companies shortlisted to supply the fertilizers to farmers across the country.
Farmers last year, in 2016, had to pay a retail price of 85 Ghana cedis for NPK and 80 Ghana cedis for urea. Organic fertilizers price paid by the farmer was 15 Ghana cedis per 50 kilogram bag. I'm happy to announce that because of the keenness of government to encourage farmers to apply fertilizers to improve their productivity, the prices that they are paying this year has been reduced. The price for 2017 for NPK will now be 57 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. That's the price to be paid by the farmer. It's 57 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. For urea will be 47 cedis, 50 pesos. For organic fertilizer will be 15 Ghana cedis flat. What it means is that the 57 cedis represent 50% reduction, as the subsidy amounts to 50%, because the original price, the cost to the government is 115 Ghana cedis per bag of 50 kilograms for NPK, which is the most common form of fertilizer.
All right, so what do farmers make of these subsidies announced by government? Take a look at this.
I think it's a good thing. I think we should quickly move towards producing our own fertilizer from the oil industry as new blocks come on stream, and new gas fields come on stream. Let's start planning towards building our own, manufacturing our own fertilizer. Because this fertilizer we are bringing in, we are importing it. Money is going out. We need to keep the money here. So if we can start our own fertilizer production, I think it will help agriculture and it will bring the price down. He said from 84 now to 54. We want it down to 10 cedis a bag as possible, so that agriculture will thrive. Well, it might not be possible, but at least it should be cheap. Even if it comes to 30 cedis a bag, a lot of people will be able to go into agriculture, will be able to produce enough food to feed ourselves. That is the first thing. We need to be able to produce food to feed ourselves. Once we feed ourselves, then we can also export some of this food to the sub-region. I am very interested in sub-region activity, where we can export to the sub-region and give food to others to eat. We need to be an agricultural hub for West Africa. And
a very good thing. Fertilizer is the main thing that helps crops be produced. Sometimes you can even go to a certain land where the land is so arid and dry, but with the use of fertilizers, you will be able to produce. So if they have reduced the fertilizer prices, yes, it will help. But it wasn't too specific on what type of fertilizer that we have, because there are various fertilizers that we use in our business. Yes, we have the nitrogens, we have the phosphorus, we have the potassiums, we have the magnesium, the manganese, and these things tend to be expensive. The cheapest is the nitrogen. But if the prices have been reduced, it's a welcome.
And we commend government for that. But I think that can only deal with one side of the issue. We want to commend government, no two ways about that. But I think that government should also look at the marketing side. Because what typically happens in this country is that anytime there is increase in production, prices collapse because we don't have structured marketing systems in place. So you can give the farmer the fertilizer, he boosts his production, he gets good weather, and he has good yield, and therefore the harvest. Now, if you don't put in place marketing mechanism or arrangements to take off the produce, I mean, prices will collapse, which is what has been happening in the past. And it doesn't serve the farmer any good. I mean, it rather makes the farmer frustrated. And in the following year, they will not produce. And that has been the cycle. So I think that this should come alongside with a marketing strategy. I would have proposed that we could rather give a bit of the subsidy at the input side and the subsidy at the marketing side. What I'm saying is that let us guarantee some price at the market level for the maize producer, for instance.
Moving on to one of our big stories tonight, licensed artisanal miners duly operating by the law would not be affected by the ban on small-scale mining, at least for now, except those abusing their licenses. That's the assurance from the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu. He has been speaking to Joy Business in the wake of the fight against illegal mining, popularly called Galamsey.
Calling for the ban to be extended to even licensed operators in the fight against illegal mining. This, according to them, is because they also engage in illegal mining and also hire out their equipment to illegal miners. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Peter Amewu, admits it is challenging distinguishing between law-abiding small-scale miners from unscrupulous ones.
It is also clear that over thousands or so of these small-scale licenses have not probably gone through the process. The law says that they need ratification. It should have gone through Parliament. And so invariably what it means is that those 1,000+ small-scale, that are up there on the ground working are doing it illegally. Now, the difficulty therefore is that some of those small-scale that have got the license through prospecting, mining license and an authorization therefore to mine, you get to their concessions and they are behaving just like those who have not got the license. So the difficulty, therefore, is how do you differentiate? That is why I've said that both official and non-official, since I assumed office, I have never given any consent to any mining lease in terms of the small scale. The attempt was just to sanitize the system.
But beyond the moratorium, they think that even small-scale miners, we should halt their operations to sanitize the system for a period of time before it's even.
Of course, that is a brilliant discussion, and I think that we need to engage, with ourselves. But we are going down there to the ground very soon. We are going to the fields, very soon. We are picking informations, and at the field, certain decisions will be taken when we get to those concession grounds.
So could the sector minister be under pressure against this backdrop?
No, I think that we work under a president that doesn't sleep. a president that works, let me say, 24 hours. And so if somebody should be more under pressure, I think my boss, you know, because when I wake up and I think that 3 a.m., I said, no, the president may be up already. It gives me some form of urgency to work because we are working to deliver in accordance with the goodwill of this current president. Yes. So I'm not totally under pressure, but we are working diligently to make sure that we meet, you know, our target goals.
Stakeholder groups like the Wassa Association of Communities Affected by Mining have government's decision to suspend issuing new licenses to small-scale miners.
And the chief executive of Delex Finance, Ken Thompson, has waded into the much-talked-about Galamsey controversy and is prevailing on the Bank of Ghana to allow the local currency to depreciate as part of measures to help address the menace. According to him, the phenomenon where most farmers, including cocoa growers, are selling off their farmlands to illegal miners could be halted if the local currency depreciates, thereby indirectly adding a lot more value to their produce. An appreciation of the local currency, Mr. Thompson believes, only serves the interest of importers and the associate foreign companies.
Cocoa farmers, I don't blame them. I mean, they are profit-making farms. If somebody comes and offers them 10 cedis and another person offers them 2 cedis, they'll take 2 cedis. But the bottom line is, unless we allow our currency to reach its true value, all our attempts to create non-traditional exports, to be able to generate a certain revenue, to correct the issues we have with our economy will fail.
Help me understand that dynamic.
Well, it's very simple. You see, we have a situation where we import everything and we export very little. So, of course, there's demand for dollars because that's the international trading currency, and there's very little demand for cedis. So your currency will continue to depreciate. What we do is that when our currency is depreciating, we take our savings to support it. One day, those savings will run out. Recently, the cedi has been appreciating. It's a bad sign, and somebody should have stopped it. Because all that's happening is that when the government has gone onto the market to raise bonds, the dollars have come to the system, so that's been used to support the cedi. But how long will that last for? You know, let's face the realities and deal with them. And unless we face the realities, this country will never change.
So there shouldn't be any pomp and pageantry about the appreciation of a cedi.
It makes me sad. It made me very sad because remember that every time you buy an imported product, especially food, let's use food, you buy orange juice, you buy bottled yogurt, you are taking the jobs outside this country. And think of all the related activities related to that job. So you have left your poor grandfather and father in Ghana to die, and you're supporting somebody's father, grandfather in another country. Does it make sense?
So the farmer, let me take you back to the cocoa farmer. If the cedi devalues, okay, how does the farmer benefit from a devalued cedi?
Okay. You know, the government says, for example, assume that the cedi is, we have $1 equals to 10 cedis. So the farmer is paid 5 cedis. Let's say it pays 5 cedis. If $1 goes to 20 cedis, the farmer will pay 10 cedis. So in terms of cedis, you have more money and you produce. That's as simple as that. Another point is that remember that when cocoa was introduced in this country, no, cocoa is not indigenous to Ghana. Everybody embraced it. Everybody grew cocoa because there was a financial incentive for them to grow cocoa. So let's create a financial incentive for our cocoa farmers to grow cocoa, and they'll grow cocoa.
All right, you're watching Business Live. That was interesting perspective from the CEO of Delex Finance, Ken Thompson. We're right back with our interview of the day.
Business Live today.
Welcome back. Time now for our interview of the day. We'll stick with the subject of illegal mining because it's been a big issue this week. And the Wassa Association of Communities Affected by Mining, WACAM, has backed government's decision to suspend the issuance of new licenses to small-scale miners. The Lands and Natural Resources Ministry issued the directive As part of measures to address the illegal mining menace, an inter-ministerial committee has been set up towards tackling the menace, and Executive Director of WACAM, Hannah Owusu-Krantin, tells Joy Business the freeze should be maintained until a definite solution is found.
I subscribe to the fact that a moratorium should be placed on issuing out new licenses, both for large scale or small scale. We should have that moratorium. And then we talk about all these issues that I'm bringing up. And once we find solutions, then we can go on.
So stopping all activities for a moment?
Place a moratorium on the issuing of new licenses for now. And then once we have this conversation, we know where to place what problem. And once we're able to disaggregate the problems, then we find the appropriate strategies to deal with each of them. The small-scale miners, who are supposed to be legal entities, they go for permits for exploratory work. And who is supervising what they are doing? So once they have the license to do exploration over here, they end up over there. And there's no regular supervision of their activities. So they end up devastating the whole area under the guise of exploratory work. And in exploration, you are not supposed to address the environmental damage as is required when you are mining. So yes, I'm engaged in exploration. They finished mining, they left, and then the problems are with the states.
Okay, time to go. Thanks for watching Business Live. We are back next week. Enjoy your weekend.